Welcome to Engineering Culture, where we discuss how to build a culture through teamwork, accountability, and competitive greatness with thought leaders, that is coaches, superintendents, principals, all of those things. We are Engineering Culture. Okay, here with Wahoo superintendent. I was going to say high school, but you're pretty much everything. A superintendent, I think, by definition, is in charge of the entire school district.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right.
So I've known you, I would say loosely known you, like for 30 years. Is it 30?
It's got to be getting close.
It's close to 30,
Yeah.
20-ish.
27 maybe?
Yeah, 20 to 30 years, something like that. So I guess because this podcast is called Engineering Culture, let's just start there. Define culture for me. That's kind of how I start all these. So define culture. What does that mean to you?
Sure. First, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Culture is a set group of criteria. I don't care if you want to talk about beliefs, action statements, results. It's a set criteria around which it manifests itself daily in things that people do. When you're talking school culture, it's what you got going inside the school. If you're talking about a family culture, it's what the family does. It's what they believe in. It's what they carry out. You see that on a daily basis. So culture is going to be different in different places, right. But it's something that people can grab a hold of and say, this is what we're about.
Yeah. So in a school community, building a culture of success, whether it be athletics, activities in the classroom, however you define it as a school culture, what are the 1, 2, or 3 most important things to, I guess, raise the level every day?
Having been in different school districts, right. I think one of the first things is parent involvement, parent accountability. If you have parents that invest in their kids, if you have parents that are looking for the best interests of their kids, you're going to have a great base from which you can work. I think the second piece of it is probably open communication, whether that open and honest, I should say, whether that's between, parent and student, school and student, school and parent, however that communication takes place. I think it has to be consistent, it has to be honest, it has to be transparent. Right. If you had to go with a third thing on which you wanted to hang your hat for a school community, it's probably that expectation piece where, we talked about the parent involvement, that parent buy-in, but the expectation across the board is there's a really high standard to be able to meet that. And there's constant push, there's constant movement in that direction in trying to achieve as highly as possible.
You brought up, I'm glad you did, transparency, because I guess I gravitate towards school administrators that are very transparent. And I believe you have been. Dr. Lucas, who we had on before, is probably overly transparent.
Right. Right.
Which is fine. More power to him. But that piece of, I want to be very direct with my community, whether it be school community or in your case, it's totally different because it's not, in Omaha. It's it's the whole town, basically. Yeah. Basically the whole town. That's a really important piece.
It is a really important piece, and I think sometimes people hear what they want to hear, see what they want to see, where in efforts to be transparent, it's not transparent enough. There's something missing. You try to meet the needs of everybody, but at the same time, you've got to act in the best interest of the school district. You got to act in the best interest of the kids, and what we try to put out, what we try to share is all the positive messages, all the things that we have going on. Sometimes we miss things. I mean, that's just the way it is. We can't hit everything all at once all the time.
It's a lot going on every day.
And with 24-hour news cycle, with social media, there's just this constant barrage of information over and over and over again. And sometimes it's tough for a school district to keep up, especially a smaller school district.
Right. Is you know, you're at Wahoo now. You've been smaller before that. You grew up in a small town.
Yep.
Hopefully I don't offend people by saying that, because it's true. I live there too. Why are, I'll just go athletics at first.
Sure.
But why are athletics, and you can throw in, I guess, activities, so important to build a school culture in smaller communities across the United States, not just Nebraska?
Right. As a school administrator, I would love to be able to sit here and say academics should be at the forefront of everything, because they should be. It's what kids are going to do the rest of their lives.
Right.
However, what a community gravitates around, I don't care if you're talking about Friday nights under the lights. I don't care if you're talking, let's be honest, school board meetings.
Right.
Some of those hot button topics.
Yeah.
They revolve around athletics. It's something that people see on a daily basis. I think it's something that everybody understands to some extent, having watched it, having played it, having coached it, done whatever they do. It's something that's deeply ingrained in them. And whether it is a school district that has not experienced a ton of success, or it's a school district that has all kinds of success, everybody is invested in athletics to some degree. When you have those high achieving districts, you know, for example, a Wahoo, it becomes part of that expectation that we talked about before, where, you know, being over 500
is not.
That's not going to cut it. They're all of a sudden that bar's been raised, and now they know that's where we're trying to get to. That's where we have to be. And so it pulls everything with it, whether you're talking on the academic side. We have some great programs, some great teachers, and above all, great students that thrive in our district. And it's partly because of athletics, because of that expectation.
Yeah, I know for me, and I've had this conversation with my wife and other people before, for me it's like when I was in school, I never wanted to like skip school or miss a day, because I would miss practice, or I would miss, like, I wanted to go to school for the social part. That was so important to me.
Sure.
Do you see more of that? Like, or is it kind of like you're always going to have this group that just doesn't really care?
There's outliers everywhere.
Right.
I mean, there's going to be individuals, there's going to be small groups, but for the most part, those that are heavily involved outside of the school day are going to be heavily invested during the school day, because they want to participate in these things outside of the school day. They want to do it well. And it's kind of in their nature that if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to put the effort in, I want it to be done well. So I don't care if it's a chemistry test. I don't care if it's an English paper. I don't care if it is a track meet. I'm going to bust my tail and do the best I can.
Do everything the best. Is you, let's get personal a little bit.
Okay.
Here. So you're the superintendent.
Yep.
Your dad.
Yep.
Of kids that play sports.
Yep.
How hard is that to like?
That is a great question.
To be the example for other people in the community, to not get on your coaches or you know, or referees or umpires or whatever it may be. How hard is that to, like, you want your son to do really well.
Yep.
But like at the same time, it's like you gotta pull back a little bit.
There's a couple routes to go down here first.
Right.
So I think first with my kids, just in my father role, I have never been the dad. You know, I played high school sports, played college sports. I did all that. It was always on me. It wasn't my parents were pushing me to do. And I've been the same way with my boys. You want to go shoot at the gym? We'll go shoot, but I'm not making you do it. You want to get in the weight room? You tell me when, I'll be there, but I'm not scheduling the time. So I've been really cognizant about that. And because it's been their choice, because they've set the bar that high, you know, they've had some success to varying degrees in high school and now college. When you talk on kind of setting the example as an administrator, you see all of these behaviors that you wouldn't condone.
Right.
And so I'm really cognizant about not repeating that. It's pretty easy in my nature. I'm a pretty level-headed, even-keeled type guy.
Yeah.
But, you see a parent up in the stands screaming at a ref. I'm not going to do that because I don't want people seeing me do that.
Right.
You hear about coaches' meetings with parents and kids have these complaints. Yeah. I'm over the top, probably the other direction of not doing those things because that's what I see, and that's not the example.
Is it also because of your role? Like, is it kind of like you don't want to? I think that'd be a really delicate balance. Like,
it is.
You have
it
to
is.
Really.
I think it depends on somebody's personality. Like my personality, it fits for me, so it's not as difficult. You get somebody that is really passionate, hard on their sleeve type of guy, it becomes a much different conversation where they have to concentrate to kind of find that balance.
So growing up in a small town, you went to Sutherland High School.
Yep.
As did I, but you went there longer than I did.
Correct.
I was there for 1 year. And I will never forget. Remember, so this is just random, nothing to do with engineering culture, but I will never forget the first weekend I was there. Cody Rising, who you know,
yep.
and Shad, they told me, hey, you want to go roping with us? I think I've told you this story before.
Yeah. And
I was like, sure, I'm going to meet new friend. These guys want to be my friend. And I'm not sure they really wanted to. Because roping, I had no idea what that meant. And we're talking calf roping, right?
Right.
Ranch country. And I show up. First of all, I don't know how I found the place because we didn't have even maps to print back then.
Correct.
They just said, go this far, turn right,
yep.
whatever, on these dirt road. And I show up. I'm in like sweats and tennis shoes, and they're on their horses already. And they're like, yeah, go over there, and we'll have you run the chute. And I didn't know what that meant. And I left after about 20 minutes with a bunch of stuff all over me that I don't want to talk about.
Well, let's be honest. Those two guys are still on their horses today, teaching their kids to do it. Yeah. So you were in the deep end.
Yeah, I like it was, and I get it. And Cody and I ended up being like pretty good friends. Yep. We hung out a lot, and it was, it was fine. I just will never forget that because I'm like, wait, you want me to stand behind a calf and like knee him and like get him to go forward and I'm going to be clean after that? No, thanks.
Not like we're in the middle of Omaha.
No, it definitely wasn't the same. But that being said, those are those life lessons, like jumping off the north bridge of Sutherland into the river.
Yep.
Like I did that a ton. You probably did it way more than me. But those are like graffitiing the wall.
Right.
Like stuff. Those are memories that I have. How important was that for you to grow up in a community like that to get you to where you are today?
Super important.
Right.
First of all, when you grow up in a small community, just like they are all across Nebraska, everybody is looking out for you and everybody's looking out for everybody. My parents' friends could tell them where I was, what I was doing at any time during the day because it's a small community.
Right.
But some of the things you learn from hard work, whether that was baling hay and throwing bales, whether that was roofing, whether that was, working in a field, whatever you were going to do, 4-H, some of those life skills of hard work, perseverance, time management, they were of the essence because we didn't have phones.
No.
Video games were just coming out.
Right.
It was, you were outside all the time and you had to manage what you were doing and where you were going because we still had football and basketball and baseball and track and all these things going on. But to look back at that and then look at, how my kids are raised today, it's two different times, but some of those lessons, with work ethic, with time management, those carry through. Those are constant. They're taught in a different way now.
Do you ever do you ever reminisce back to beating Cambridge? Because I think about that all the time.
Occasionally when somebody brings it up.
Okay, like you were the starting quarterback my sophomore year. You were really good. I was on the team, and that was about it. Also weighed 110 pounds as a sophomore in high school.
Well, and
you guys smoked. I was the practice dummy, and I enjoyed it because we were winning.
Yeah,
and I felt like I was a part of something.
And that's what
even though I wasn't like, if I got in the game, it was because like we were, really winning, but I was a part of something. We were winning. We were having fun, and no one like made fun of me. Like, yeah, I remember the one time that I was volunteered to be the wedge buster on kickoff against the scout team kickoff, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna run as fast as I can and throw my body into these people, and they just like picked me up and slammed me down on the ground. But that's okay. Like, it was fun. Anyway, so.
And I'm glad you brought, that's a great point.
Yeah.
It feels like more and more kind of that appreciation of being a member of a team, being an integral part and not the face or the star.
Right.
It's kind of fallen by the wayside. It's kind of all about me. How am I going to get mine type of thing? And I don't think that's a good direction to go, because whether you're working at Hurrdat, whether you're working at Wahoo Public Schools, everybody has a specific role, and every role is not going to be front and center all the time, but they're all super important to the success of the organization.
Okay, so Cambridge game.
Okay, yeah.
Like if you look at the NSA record books,
it's
longest football win streaks. It's Cambridge. And then Cambridge.
Correct.
And it's because, I'll say because we beat them in a state quarterfinal game.
Yeah. So.
And broke their streak, which.
We broke the first
would be
one,
like
meaning
hundreds.
You and me.
Yeah,
specifically.
we were we were integral parts of the team.
And the second one was Sutherland as well.
Yeah, right.
I think 4 years later, maybe, it was something like that.
Great. They won like ridiculous.
Yeah.
I will never forget that game my sophomore year. I just won't. Like, there were cars. I mean, there were people everywhere.
It was crazy cold.
Crazy.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yes. Yeah, it was crazy cold. And you and Eric Kinnaman and Tom Beveridge.
Yep.
And I'm missing other people, but that's okay. Like, we had a really good team. And then we thought we would go to Hastings St. Cecilia and just run through them because we beat Cambridge, and then they ran through us in the semis.
Yeah.
That was your senior year.
That's disappointing.
That's reminiscent. I don't make you cry. But
yeah. I mean, you look back at a C2 school that I want to say our senior class, we had 6 college athletes coming out of that.
Yeah.
Out of, what, 35?
Yeah, 35.
Kids? 36,
boys and girls?
Yeah, both.
Yeah. I know in the sophomore class, I was 24 when I moved in.
So it's a small school.
Yeah. But that experience though, and you still, I mean, do you even talk? You probably don't talk to those guys every day.
Not every day,
but like occasionally, maybe.
Yeah. Whether it's Tom, Eric Kinnaman, Shane Rasby, Joel Scott lives in Waverly. Every once in a while, see Cody Rising, who's in Seward.
Yeah.
Well, may not talk every day.
Right.
There's still relationships forged, which are critically important that we haven't even talked about yet, to success, to lifespans, that, you can pick up a conversation and not feel awkward talking to some of those guys.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, whatever, when I first saw you, I just started talking about, like, my experiences at Sutherland. It was just like, picked up where you left off.
Correct.
Including that one time I tried to date your sister and didn't work out.
Well,
we can now. If you want,
it doesn't bother me a bit. I don't know what she says, and I definitely don't know what you think. But
it was like I think it was. You can call it a homecoming date, and that was it. About it.
That's fair. We'll save that picture as blackmail later, maybe.
I haven't seen that in a long time. I don't know if I want to. That's okay. Anyway, you brought it up. So being a part of something bigger in those long-term lasting relationships, I look at, I'm just going to go Wahoo now. So I look at, man, like you walk into Wahoo and in the middle of the gym what is there? Is there big, like right in the smack in the middle we won 104 games in a row. We won all this stuff. And I look at people like a Jason Glock who like you play basketball with even now. I mean, that group and that team was so vital for that community. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And now even when you go back there, you're like, yeah, man, remember those guys? And like, it's all talked about. So those relationships forged
right.
are so important. And I think that's a part of the culture. Because when you think of Wahoo, it's like, oh yeah, remember that basketball team?
Right.
Or group?
Right. Which is definitely how everything started. And I think everybody appreciates it, whether it's some of those players that you're mentioning, whether it's Coach Anderson, whoever it is involved in that, they still come back. They still talk. There were a ton of them during this playoff run so far in basketball during the postseason that have come to watch a game that you don't necessarily see in the regular season, but everybody wants to talk to them. I think what that's done is led to success in other activities. I mean, if you look at the last 7, 8, 10 years, you're talking about state championships or runners up in football, in cross country, in volleyball, in track, in basketball. It's across the board in activities, but you also talk about some national merit scholars. We've got 2 or 3 finalists in the last 5 years for National Merit Scholar, or you talk about our musical, our one act. We've got a lot of kids doing a lot of great stuff. Our show choir is taking off, where we're getting huge numbers. We've got a new instructor, and people want to be there, and people want to do as well as they can. And it started, I think, probably as basketball, especially for an outsider. But you get in the middle of it, and it's so much more than that.
Yeah, and that's a part of, again, the culture.
Right.
And how you build it and maintain it.
Right.
Once you establish the culture, how do you maintain it?
See, and that's a great question, because I think sometimes we confuse culture and climate, especially in schools. Right. Climate is kind of the day-to-day feeling. How are we feeling about what we're doing? How it's more perceptive, where culture is ingrained. Culture is, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. This is how we get there. This is what the expectation is. I think the thing that Wahoo has been able to avoid and will push to keep avoiding is some of that complacency. When you look at success of schools, and it's easy to do in athletics because that's what everybody sees, but you'll kind of see that roller coaster where there'll be success for a few years and then they'll drop off. Then they come back, then it drops off. Well, how do you avoid those low points? And Wahoo historically has been pretty good about avoiding those, and it's avoiding complacency, some of that apathy, that entitlement, where, kids work hard. Whatever they're doing, kids are going to work hard, and we want to continue to promote those things across all platforms. It's
just the expectation. Yeah. It turns into the expectation.
Correct.
Which is built it up. And all by the way, like in a school that could use a little juice, like of a remodel and stuff, just saying bond issues and stuff would happen, but we won't talk about that.
That'd be okay.
Well, I'd want to thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And it's just cool to kind of reconnect with you. And I hadn't seen you for years. And then, like I said, like 10 years ago, I'm like, oh, man. Yeah.
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 It was good.
It was fun. So thanks for your time, and appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll see you on a basketball court or something.
Sounds good. Love the work you're doing.
Thanks.
We'll see you soon.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.